They were loud. They were offensive. They were cartoonish, electronic, and punk all at once. Mindless Self Indulgence exploded into the underground music scene in the late 90s, building a cult-like following that loved them for their shameless attitude and their controversial yet electric live performances. But today, in 2025, it seems that MSI is no longer a band, and their story has taken a bit of a darker turn. In this video, I'm going to explore what happened to Mindless Self Indulgence and the controversy surrounding the band's frontman, James Euringer, better known as Jimmy Urine. In order to do that, I'm going to rewind for a second. Mindless Self Indulgence, or MSI as many refer to them, was formed in New York City in 1997 by Jimmy Urine, alongside guitarist Steve Rye and drummer Kitty, and later lyn-z on bass. Jimmy started MSI as an experimental solo project, blending elements of punk rock, electronica, industrial, hip-hop, and techno. The band even referred to themselves as industrial jungle pussy punk. And while that may seem like a mouthful, it's pretty damn accurate. What set MSI apart from other underground acts at the time was their genre-defying energy, and their live performances were insane. The band didn't really fit into the punk scene. They didn't belong purely to electronic music either. They were a sonic middle finger to convention. Early tracks like Tornado and Bring the Pain, the latter being a cover of a Method Man song, showcased their volatile energy. They self-released their debut album, Tight, in 1999, and it quickly became an underground hit through word of mouth, and of course, their live performances. MSI's music wasn't just different, it was deliberately confrontational. And as a longtime fan of the band, I have to say, a lot of it has not aged well, at least with the current social climate.
Because of this next song, people think I am a racist. Which is true because I hate white people. I did not write this next song. If you have a problem with the word, then I think you should call Method Man's agency at 212.
MSI was vulgar, absurd, darkly comedic, and politically incorrect, often by design. Their performances often felt like an art experiment, chaotic and sometimes offensive, but with intention. Jimmy Urine often said in interviews that MSI was anti-everything. They mocked pop culture, celebrity worship, and even their own fans, which is the subject matter on the song Mark David Chapman released on their album If in 2008. And beneath all of that, their fans loved it, because maybe MSI embodied pure, unfiltered rebellion at a time when even punk felt polished. In the early 2000s, MSI blew up in the underground scene, partially thanks to MySpace and online forums where fans could spread their music without radio play. Their 2005 album, You'll Rebel to Anything, became their biggest success, landing on Billboard's electronic charts and even breaking into the mainstream a little. Songs from the album like Shut Me Up and Straight to Video both received serious airplay on MTV2 and Fuse, back when that mattered. MSI became a staple of Warped Tour, Hot Topic shelves, and teenage playlists. Well, mixtapes or iPods, because, streaming didn't exist back then. And fan culture surrounding MSI was intense, and still remains that way to this day. In 2008, MSI returned with If, an album that pushed their chaotic, genre-bending formula into a more electronic, almost dance punk territory. And commercially, it worked. If charted on the Billboard 200 and helped the band hit a new wave of festival invites and sold-out tours. The single Never Wanted to Dance was even featured in the video game Dance Dance Revolution Universe 3 for the Xbox 360, released in 2008. But behind the scenes, MSI was already running on fumes. The energy that they built the band on wasn't meant to last forever. After releasing their album How I Learned to Stop Giving a Shit and Love Mindless Self Indulgence in 2013, MSI went quiet. The band announced a hiatus in 2014. With no proper send-off, the band kind of faded into obscurity. Jimmy Urine pursued other projects, releasing a solo album called Euringer in 2018, which features a collaboration with My Chemical Romance frontman Gerard Way, in addition to the 2020 album Fucktronic, a collaboration between Jimmy and System of a Down frontman Serj Tankian. While bassist lyn-z focused on her family life with her husband Gerard Way, guitarist Steve and drummer Kitty faded from the spotlight. Maybe MSI had simply outgrown their chaotic youth. And for a band that was built on shock value, maybe there was just nowhere left to go. But MSI's legacy took a dark and serious turn in 2021. In August of that year, Jimmy Urine was sued for alleged sexual battery of a minor, a fan he allegedly groomed and abused between 1996 1997 and 1999, when she was between the ages of 15 and 16 years old. The lawsuit accused Jimmy of exploiting his status as a rock star to manipulate and abuse the minor, allegedly engaging in repeated inappropriate conduct. These claims were deeply disturbing, painting a picture of a relationship where Jimmy allegedly normalized the inappropriate behavior over time. According to the lawsuit, Euringer knew the accuser was a minor, and at one point wrote her a letter wishing her a happy 15th birthday. During this time, Euringer acted and treated plaintiff as though she was his girlfriend, and the two were in a consensual relationship. The lawsuit also brings up Jimmy Urine's onstage antics, noting the times that Jimmy held up a sign that said "Kisses $1," where he would go into the crowd and kiss attendees for $1. It also references a show that the band played in Michigan in 1999, where Jimmy was arrested for indecent exposure after exposing his penis on stage at Cobo Arena in Detroit. In addition to Euringer, the band's record label, Warner Music Group, MSI's label home until 2002, and their former manager/producer, Joseph Gallus, were all named as defendants in the lawsuit, alleging that the defendants had the opportunity and ability to stop Euringer from further sexual assaults and abuse, but ultimately chose not to. In March of 2024, the lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice, meaning it cannot be refiled. The terms of the dismissal remain private, leaving many questions unanswered and many fans feeling betrayed. So, in short, the charges were dismissed because the victim settled outside of court in an agreement not to take the case further. So this means he was never proven guilty or innocent in this case, and the exact details of the settlement remain unknown. While the dismissal technically closed the legal matter officially, the damage to MSI's reputation was permanent. For a band that built their platform on shock value, there was now a very real and serious consequence tied to that persona. So, how do you even talk about a band like Mindless Self Indulgence now? For a lot of people, this was music that they grew up with, myself included. This is one of the first CDs I ever bought with my own money. Seeing the band live at a venue that doesn't even exist anymore was one of the first shows I ever went to. My dad took me when I was in middle school, and I was so worried that the music would freak him out or I would be in some sort of trouble for the type of music he was about to hear, but he ended up loving the show. That was cool. MSI was the band that told you it was okay to be loud, to be messy, weird, annoying, and hyper. They made being too much feel more like a superpower. And sure, some of it was edgy just for the sake of being edgy, and a lot of their music has not aged very well. But when you're a teenager and you feel like the whole world is laughing at you, listening to MSI felt like they were laughing with you, or dare I say it, laughing at the world for you, a certain type of validation that you might not get from other music. And then the real life stuff hit, the lawsuit, the allegations, the realization that this guy that felt like a cartoon character, this persona that you didn't even really know, might have caused real harm to somebody. And suddenly, all that chaos, all the shock value humor, you start looking at it under a new microscope. It becomes reframed, or at least it did for me. I don't think that there's a clean way to process all of this. There never really is in situations like this. You can't unhear the music. You can't erase what it meant to you at some point in your life, but you can reevaluate it. And I think you should. You can't acknowledge that something good happened to you while also admitting the damage that it caused to others. As of right now, Jimmy is living with his family in New Zealand, and MSI has remained silent and inactive, largely since 2014. And for me, MSI sits between formative and complicated in my music listening world. The band wasn't built to last forever, and maybe they were never supposed to. But that's going to be the end of this video. What did you think of this story? Do you still listen to MSI? Do you have no idea who they are? Is this your first time finding out about all this? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. My name is Tyler Common. This is Common Revolt. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. It helps me make more videos like this one. We'll see you next time.